When we're talking about spiritual subjects, a lot of time the number 144 will come up. Like Christians believe that only 144,000 people will get into heaven. In this video, I'm going to break down what that means from two perspectives. Since we live in this consciousness of duality, everything is separated. So typically when we're looking at this reality, we're either looking at it from the right brain or the left brain. The left brain is going to be masculine, the right brain is going to be feminine. The masculine principle is light and the feminine principle is sound. So our light body is our etheric body, and that is where our chakra system is. Our chakra system are different colors because they're associated with the electromagnetic spectrum and the densities of consciousness that we must evolve through in order for us to ascend. Each chakra has a certain amount of petals, which represents the power of that chakra. So the root center has 4 petals, the sacral has 6, the solar plexus has 10, the heart has 12, the throat has 16, the anja has 2, which I'll explain in just a second, and then the crown has 1,000. So when you add up the petals of the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the throat, and the heart space, you get 48. Now, the reason the anja only has 2 petals is because it's 2 times the strength of the bottom 5 chakras. So you have to take the number 48, which is the bottom chakras added up, and multiply it by 2, which gives you 96. 96 is the strength of the anja, okay? So you take 48 plus 96, which gives you 144, and you times it by 1,000, which gives you 144,000. 144,000 is a light code meant to be the light code of ascension out of this reality. Now, we know from my last video that every single chakra has a music note that is associated with it. The root is going to be C, then D is going to be the sacral, E the solar plexus, F the heart, G the throat, A is going to be your third eye, and then B is going to be your crown. C, music scale. Now, when you get to B, C is going to be the root chakra of the next dimension or the next universe. Remember, we're talking about ascending from one dimension to the next. So in my last video, I explained that these 7 white keys from C to B represent your chakra system. With this last C, which is the 8th key, being the first step in the next dimension. So in order for you to ascend out of this reality, you must go through the 7 chakras. But there's also these 5 black keys, so you really have 13 steps until you get into the next octave or the next dimension. However, musicians and people who study music theory, physicists, have discovered that between each note are 12 overtones. So if you add the 7 white keys and the 5 black keys, you get 12, plus the 12 overtones that are between every single key. So 12 times 12, which when you multiply them together, you get 144. So there are 144 dimensional levels between each octave. So to put this together, your chakra system is the light system, it's the masculine, while the notes that are associated with your chakra system are the sound system and the feminine. So when you put them together, it's a path to ascension. So it's the light code that you must ascend through, but also the harmonic sounds that you must also ascend through, which are both connected and related. Let me know if this makes sense to you. I'm always saying that we don't live in a universe of sin. Sin is short for sine wave, and we live in a universe full of sine waves. Let me explain to y'all what I mean by that. So sine waves correspond with light, which is the electromagnetic spectrum, but also vibrating sound. That light is moving at a specific frequency, which means that it's vibrating at a specific frequency. And when anything is vibrating, a sound is coming off of it. The sound is going to help you determine where the light is vibrating. Is it low vibrating or is it high vibrating? So let's look at the electromagnetic spectrum, because this is the light matrix that we live in. This is where all of the light is separated into different components. And we have to evolve from red to violet, which is the bottom chakra, all the way up to your crown chakra. If you look at the red, right, and you look at the wavelength associated with red, do you see how slow that wavelength is? And then when you move to violet, you see how it starts to get faster and faster? The reason it starts moving faster at violet is because once you reach that violet, you are about to move into a different density of consciousness or a different dimension. If you don't know what a wavelength is, it's literally one top to the next or one bottom to the next, okay? So you know how they say we go through our cycles in life. We have our good times, we have our bad times. This is literally what they're talking about. We go up and then we go down, and then we go up and then we go down. Everybody has to go through this. This is also what they mean when they say that the universe is temporary, meaning that we're not going to stay in good times forever. forever. Bad times are going to come, and we know this because we're moving through these sine waves. This wavelength gets shorter when you move up in higher harmonics. So let me explain it to you using the music scale. So let's look at this bottom C as your root chakra, okay? And then D is your sacral, solar plexus, E, so on and so forth. Once you get to this next C, it's the root chakra of the next dimension. So let's say you're trying to ascend out of this reality or this dimension into the next. You have to cycle through these 7 white keys, really 8th, but the 8th one is the first key in the next octave, in the next harmonic level. But it's not just 7 chakras or 7 keys that you have to cycle through, because they're these black keys. So it's really 13 harmonic levels that you have to go through before you can get to the next density of consciousness. And once you reach this B and you're about to go to this C, it requires you to turn 90 degrees to the right. That 90-degree shift can be seen in the cosine wave. See, if you look at this yellow at the top and where the dotted line is, every single point where they cross creates a 90-degree angle. But they're still sitting on top of each other, but a different perspective. The difference is in that 90 degrees. Now, remember what I said in a previous video about the pineal gland and how it looks 90 degrees upwards and it's responsible for how we perceive reality? When you shift in dimension, you move 90 degrees to the right. So now your pineal gland is pointing 90 degrees in the opposite direction. Then we continue to cycle through this. What's crazy is the Egyptians knew this, and they used to have like really, really old temples, which you can only find them in the old temples now, where they had 4 to 8 wheels on the ceiling, and they would have these people called the netters with like this little disc in the center of their head, who are basically walking along this x-axis, which is, we're gonna just say is time. And then when they make this 90-degree sharp turn, they're now walking across the opposite axis, but perpendicular to what the original dimension was. So there's proof that they even knew this information. Let me know if this just fucking confused you or if you actually pick up what I'm putting down in the comments.